summers between July and September, Yuri Lukyanov and his men can't achieve a lot. Towards the end of the Soviet Union, there was already a hotel in Pyramida. That's the first thing the construction team are here to fix.
In 10 years' time, it won't just be the hotel that's working again. There are plans for the neighboring buildings. One building is to be for the workers, who are to live here permanently. There'll always be repair works. Otherwise, nature will reclaim the town.
Pyramida was planned as a utopia, as the perfect miniature Soviet Union, with workers and engineers who were fully cared for, all equal and free from money and greed. The people in the inhospitable Arctic believed in this ideal until the end. During Pyramida's heyday in the 80s, it was home to more than 1,000 people. And like everywhere in the former Soviet Union, the House of Culture was the spiritual centre. The massive building at the head of the central square contains, we're told, the world's northernmost concert grand piano. That's what the Danish musicians of Efterklang have read online. Apart from the concert hall, the House of Culture was home to a cinema and a film archive. These shelves once contained more than 50,000 books. The House of Culture also allowed friendly contacts with the Norwegians. There were chess clubs, a photographic lab and art circles. After work, the miners could withdraw to the soundproof studios to rehearse in music groups and dance ensembles. The instrument is very out of tune after all the years in the Arctic. The musicians are happy that the strings still function at all.
This is the northernmost piano note in the world. That's fascinating. I don't understand why the piano was left here. Of course, they didn't have much time to evacuate everyone, but a concert grand is expensive. It's absurd that it was just forgotten here and that nobody picked it up in all this time.
The concert grand of Pyramida will be heard again and again on the new album. But the songs aren't all to be about the decaying mining settlement. Maybe only a select few will know that all the electronic sounds of their next album came from the Russian enclave.
Decay can be so gloomy, but it can be nice too. The fact that we're using the decay as a source of our inspiration doesn't mean we're going to make a dark, gloomy album.
Det kan sagtens være musik, som du kan lytte på og få det rart af.
Our music can be an aesthetic pleasure, even though it was inspired by decay.
Inspireret af forfald. Også en stor del af det smukke i et forfald er, at der som regel bliver skabt.
The nice thing about decay is that something new usually comes of it.
Musik ud af det.
We're taking something from here to make music and new songs.
Vi bruger det i stedet til noget, ikke?
Music and theatre, distraction and education. Culture was to make workers into better Soviet people. There was also a kindergarten and a school. Some miners were allowed to bring their families. At the age of 10, these children were adopted into the ranks of the pioneers. Even here in the deepest Arctic, their pledge could be heard. In the presence of my comrades, I solemnly swear to love my fatherland fervently, to live, to learn, and to aspire, just like the great Lenin showed us, and like the Communist Party teaches us. I will always fulfill the rules of the pioneers of the Soviet Union. The energy for everyday life came from the local mountain. Its coal also fired the power station in Pyramida. For the Norwegians, Hein Bjerk and Elin Andreasen, the power station is the heart of the settlement. The old turbines, silent witnesses of a Soviet Union that was once bursting with power. Now the Norwegians can see that they're at the mercy of decay and vandalism, just like all the other remnants here.
You can sense the breath of a different time. This impressive Soviet power station, this heavy engineering. You can feel it very directly. If only we could preserve it, but that's difficult. Things change. These structures will become weaker and more vulnerable. It will become dangerous to be here.
In addition to electricity, the power station provided plenty of waste heat with which the miners heated their homes and animal sheds. They also had a greenhouse. Pyramida was an ingenious organism. Now, its heart has stopped beating. No light and no life is left in the settlement. In the past, electricity and hot water flowed through these wooden shafts like blood vessels in a body. They connected the power station with all the buildings in the town. And they also created ice-free paths, even in the deepest polar winter. The hot water pipes heated the wooden planks. Russia is back again. That's the message to Norway, the country to which Spitsbergen belongs. Where the musicians of Efterklang only receive weak signals from faraway stations, the miners could once hear the radio programs from Russia. The Soviets even ran a radio station here. Today, the visitors to Pyramida appreciate the fact that the settlement is so detached from the rest of the world. The archaeologist Hein Bjerk remembers how life disappeared from Pyramida in the late 90s. As advisor to the governor of Spitsbergen, the Norwegian was impressed by the very alien Russian life and by the traces of bygone, everyday Russian culture. Full shops and lavish bars on the ground floor of the residential buildings were designed to demonstrate Soviet success during the communist era, beyond the Iron Curtain. A lot here makes it seem as if Pyramida had only been abandoned yesterday. When the Russians closed the settlement down in 1998, Hein Bjerk remembers they didn't plan on giving it up entirely. The archaeologist visited the empty settlement for the first time in 2006. The plan was to document it together with the photographer Ellen Andreasen for an illustrated book. They want to come here every few years to see how Pyramida is developing. To these Norwegians, the private homes of the miners are the greatest treasure of Pyramida. In Soviet times, only the best from the coal areas in Russia and the Ukraine were sent to Spitsbergen. Their stay here was limited to